Hi. So I hope you're all doing well, and I thank you for the feedback. We've had some great feedback, not questions and suggestions, but also just things saying that they love this, that, the other parts. And if you were on our HNU, I have a little a news update. So what the deal is I just sent one out. If you're not on it, please go on our website and scroll down the home page, and there will be like a banner that comes up as you scroll down that will say subscribe to health news updates. That's the only way that you get them. So what I typically do is I'll write these and then I'll look at it and I'll edit it, and then a lot of times I like to sleep on it so that I can go back and get a different view and edit a little bit, but it's always very quick flash. So I don't know if you got it, but I want to show you something that after it was sent and I got a copy of it, that this is what I read as the big bold top liner. How we doing? Instead of how are we doing? So yes, anything can slip by. So I think it still gets the point across, and you can get a chuckle out of it, or condemning if you choose. I choose to chuckle. So we did have some emails come in and some things that I've been looking through, because on there, on the HNU, I talked about some of the things that we're doing. But I'm going to give you something out of levels 5 and 6 that we recently did related to TKM that's not in the books anywhere. It was a very special sequence, and that's one of the big things of TKM that we're going to share today, along with some other tips. So in the HNU, I was also talking about we're pulling together a collection of testimonies. One of the things I did is I went through my email, and I have a little section that I put over there that says testimonies, you know, in a little box. But over the years, you know, your computer crashes, you get another computer, your software crashes, your software updates, and all of these different things, and stuff happens in the transition. So there were a lot of emails that were over there in testimonies that look like an email. You click on it and you get blank. You get nothing. I'd say it's about a third of them that there's nothing there. And I know there's some really, really great things. But I did find some other things as I was going through there. And I thought that I would bring up just a couple of them. One of them is a great revelation for TKM. I like this. I was reading this, and here's what it said. And this went on to TKM Talk a number of years ago. A couple of weeks ago, my wife's shoulder was hurting, and I got the TKM books out and did some symptomatic troubleshooting and treatment for about an hour with no relief. Saw no difference. So he was going by the book. You got it? He's going by symptoms. With no relief, I thought, what the heck? I might as well give the pulses a shot, because like many people, not very familiar with them, feel shaky about that, don't know enough about it. So he did what the pulses revealed as he understood, and within the first step, there was relief. The light bulb comes on. So two things happened as a result. One, my confidence was boosted in my pulse reading. Great. This, by the way, this is from Brian. Two, I'm more committed to checking pulses. Great. And acting on what I find, then do a symptomatic treatment if there's still time or a need. That's by choice. But address what the pulses say. Address what the body says. I know some things seem very, very clear, you know, and I'll look over here and I'll see this symptom and it says it's for that and that matches that, and I'll just do that. And you know, sometimes you don't get the desired results. Find out what he found out. Go to what I've been teaching all these decades. Pulses! So even though I may have a plan for treatment, including some recipes, when working with someone now, I'll check the pulses, I'll stick with checking the pulses, and do what they say first. That's a great revelation. He's talking to other people on the Chemo Talk, which is now the TKM Talk, and he says, hang in there, it's a long journey. But, you know, it's very, very fruitful. Thank you, Brian. That was great. So in the times that we have, I wanted to bring up something else. This was something that I wrote back after 9/11. That was a different kind of devastation, but you know what? It was terrorism, much like what's affecting the world right now. So let me just read this. This is something I sent out to the people. One of the most common available blessings for any person is to be of some help to another. May I take this opportunity for a moment as this came to mind in answering your email. So this was in an answer to an email. In this time of obvious increasing stresses in our world, does that apply today? And things that often preoccupy us in our daily life, there are small things we can do to help others, which can also make a large difference in our state of being, including our heart and spirit. Such things as being mindful of the needs of another, including a passing stranger, and if possible, for you to help them. Just take a moment. Don't do it in fear. Just take a moment to do or say something to be of service or to uplift. Be an encourager. Be an ambassador of love and ambassador of joy. I'm ad-libbing there a bit. Now I'll go back. Do it with a heart to be of joyful service without return. In other words, whatever you do, don't expect that in return. You're just doing it. You're doing this out of your heart. It will change your perspective on the rest of the things in your life. You will be blessed in being a blessing. That's a guarantee. Some of it will come in the form of more joy, peace, fulfillment of purpose, even a sense of completion, not pride, or accomplishment, which many people need, and they need that now as well. It will improve your stress level, meaning lessen, your health, your sleep, and your relationships. That's very important in this time. I just felt that someone needed this word. I find joy in serving. So I'm passing that on again. I hope that was helpful to someone. In this, can I give you a reminder? First, let's go to the questions. There were a couple of questions that were emailed in. So, this one is from Pam. It says, loved it, had to tell you, our son Evan, whom you may remember, has done lots of research on EMF dangers, 5G, et cetera, and tracks it all. I know Evan. I think he's still in Alaska. So carries a meter around with him, made our computers Ethernet rather than Wi-Fi. Awesome. So hard to get people to get out of comfort and getting into health. And it actually works better. Side tip, I'm sorry, I'll go back to the email a second. Many people I test, just like yesterday, it actually worked. I had to repeat a test 3 times, and it took more than 2.5 times as long to complete the test. Others, I can't complete it at all because they have Wi-Fi versus plugged in, and any little gaps, like somebody else using it in the house, or they got other stuff running on a computer, or somebody else, your neighbors or neighborhood is getting on there. Any little thing that breaks a gap in this software, you lose the connection. Ethernet doesn't do that. Ethernet is the way to go. It was a great thing. We always are trying to advance things, but many, many times we make them worse for our health, and actually worse in function. For what? Most of the time in the name of convenience or the name of new. So I'll go back to the email. Anyway, he's been telling me all these protectors on phones, laptops, microwaves, etc. do not work. Well, he's been telling the truth. It was nice to see your confirmation online today. Love the self-helps for attitude. That was a great one, I think, as well. Bless you, Pam, and bless you back, Pam. I hope you're listening today, and I hope Evan is too. And these are things that sometimes we forget. I've been talking about these for decades, and I carry that little bag. Let me show you. This is another. I should have increased the bag. This bag is a few years old of all the little goodies that I carry around to show people with these common ones. There's a lot bigger ones too. Some of them are inexpensive, some of them are very expensive, that when it comes to a meter, it simply doesn't work. And a meter doesn't have an opinion, and it doesn't lie, okay? So be careful of things that don't influence that. I'm going to read something else here shortly that's going to add to that. That's going to be very, very important, and it's how we perceive and deal with everything in our life. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. This one is from Joel. He has a question. It says, what do you think of as non-electronic devices give off or have frequencies? Well, everything that exists, this is basic physics, everything that exists here in space, even what they call the void in space, they call it dark energy. That's astrophysics term for dark energy, meaning it is still energy. There is nothing that exists that's not energy, which means it has frequencies. So your question is, do they have frequencies? Yes, there's nothing that doesn't have frequencies. But what we're talking about as in EMFs, or electromagnetic frequencies, which are produced by battery operated or electrical operated or some kind of power generated equipment or devices. So to go on, do they give off frequencies? Yes, they have frequencies. In other words, clothes, food, wind-up toys, etc. If they do, why? Because if they didn't, they could not exist. That's basic physics. That's 101 in physics. Is it because of their electrons or other particles? If you have electrons and other particles, if you have molecules, you have atoms. If you have atoms, you have subatomic, and that gets into the aspects of physics that they call theoretic, although it's consistent, proven over and over and over and over, but it's still a classification of theoretic. Why? Because you can't touch it. It's just like the symbol for an atom is similar to what? I'm just going to rough this out here, and they do this, you know. That's not what an atom looks like. It's a symbol for what's happening. You can't see an atom. An atom is actually non-physical. But you can split an atom. You can use fusion. You can do all kinds of things and work with it. It's fascinating. It exists. Therefore, if it exists, it has frequencies. If it exists, it has oscillations. Oscillations are there because of the frequency, the type of oscillations. And I'm just ad-libbing this in common terminology for the very lay person or 101 elementary school. And what that does is kind of like dropping a pebble into water. So the frequencies are going to resonate out. It has existence and interacts with other existence, just like the little bitty things that I play, the little clips that I play sometimes during a break in class or right after a break in class. That physicists will come on and explain some basic science because, you know what? We've forgotten usually what we learned in school, or we haven't learned very basic physics. So some of these physics, like right now, I'm not sitting in this chair contacting it. I'm kind of hovering above it. Now that's the facts in physics. Sure feels like it. I feel like I'm wiggling on it. I feel what the texture feels like and everything, but these are interactions with other substances. So don't get me carried away about this. So, and another one, and Debbie asked, what is the best kind of fabric to wear for clothing and why? So according to research in physics, 100% cotton. Added with that, you might say 100% cotton up here, and then down from that, natural fibers, no blends. So what are natural fibers? 100% pure silk, none of these imitation, no faux, 100% pure leather, not imitation leather, 100% natural fabrics, no blends. You can blend two natural fabrics, and in studies of physics, we teach this in classes. They cause incoherence in the energy if you subject them to the body. So there's a tidbit with a lot more that's taught in classes and the answer for the question. So let me get through this one, and this is, you know me, I've never been blunt, right? Especially in a class or in therapy, wanting to get across truth with a goal of not wanting to be misunderstood. So here was a blunt email that I gave, and I put in there for all. The final determination of life and death, this is serious, is in the Lord's hands, although there is much we can do to impact most all premature death, and that's what most all death is. Plus, help suffering and disease beyond what most everyone believes is possible. Of course, I'm talking about TKM. I face this mental obstacle with people every day, and as an out-of-the-closet Christian, I have a lot of training in obstacles, opposition, resistance, and spiritual warfare, aside from the polite naysayers. See, I'll talk about the polite ones. I hope that no one, it says reading, but hearing this will be discouraged by what you have or will face in your life that opposes truth. Hope, or available help that glorifies God. I'm going to insert TKM in there as well. Courage is not found in peacetime, and there is no victory without a defeat. Don't be the one that is defeated. I'll stop and sign off with an encouragement to hold on to what you know is right. And I speak this for these times now and the things you know about, and it goes way beyond what the blah, blah, blah main media is talking about. So hold on to know what you know is right in God's eyes, and by His leading, do it. Period. That's what I said. Period. Is that plain and simple? If this is not understood by you, then it was not meant for you. Just know that it was meant for someone else, and be at peace with it. Thank you. So, here is one that is an observation that a lot of people run across. Can we do this, and then we'll jump into the TKM. As friends and neighbors became aware of TKM practices for this person that this is about, they too expressed a respectable skepticism. You've seen that a lot. As a matter of fact, without words, you've seen it in roll of the eyes or expressions or different things. Because time is still a factor, yes. Even with the use of TKM, the average skeptic who does not want to dig very deep into the physics of TKM or the physics of the human body, for that matter, or the other things that we were talking about here, can easily dismiss TKM, or at least not take it too seriously. Because, after all, this is relating to a true story. A mangled body from a car accident, a man's thumb drilled with a screw sticking most of the way through the thumb, a sunburned friend, an asthmatic granddaughter would have all gotten better eventually. Right? That's what people think. Well, helped along by surgeries, casts, slings, stitches, lotions, and medications. Right? And with that premise, the time investment of TKM could sound very undesirable, because you know, the biggest holdback for most people with TKM is the time to apply it. How many of you are applying it now? How many of you are applying it daily? I've just seen a couple of clients today. It was so refreshing. I mean, this week, it was so refreshing after all this time. So we have some clients coming back. By the way, we're open. But that is the thing. Well, I don't have the time. Well, I don't have the time. Yes, you do. Who determines your time? So here's one fact. We never, ever, ever have enough time in one day to do all the things we need or desire. Need is a lower level. Desire is a bigger level. But we determine what does take place in that day. So whether you're a general, a colonel, a CEO of a large corporation, a president of a country, you don't have enough time in a day to deal with everything, but you make decisions of what needs to be done. My point with TKM and the time allotted is for your own health, physical, mental, emotional, to be an example for family and the rest of them. So let's talk about it. So what about uncertainties and a plea for objective examinations. So of course, there is the placebo effect, and this is the idea that comes to mind of those assuming TKM has no real therapeutic effect. But what is thought to happen is the truly significant role the mind plays in one's physical health. Well, that's powerful. I talk about that all the time. How important is your mind, your thoughts, your beliefs, the words you speak play a role in your health every day concerning any level, especially recovery. In other words, some people believe TKM actually helps them recover or feel better even when the treatment itself is totally useless or nonsense. This is considered a kind of psychosomatic illness in reverse order. It is vital to mention the placebo effect, but those who attribute results to it must also acknowledge the debate that such psychological reality stays within the confines of objectivity. Also realize that placebo effect has no power to accomplish 100% success. Then surgery, medication, if it did, surgery, medication, physical therapy, and all else would then be obsolete. It would be a scam. Objectively, we must do a thorough investigation. However, the placebo effect card is played most when observers of TKM or any other modality that they do not understand need to appease their disbelief due to what? Lack of understanding. It gives them an excuse to not embrace the necessary involvement of starting an impartial investigation. Wimpy excuse. An investigation that appears too intimidating or seems too time-consuming or just too far off the beaten path. Conclusions based on ignorance or skepticism alone is dangerous in many ways, whether for or against something. We might employ the same understanding in what is going on today in our world. How a human being works is in direct relation to how the human mind works. Make sure yours is working for you. So let's talk about some TKM. But attached to that, how about this? Your thoughts become actions. Your actions become habits. Your habits become your character. I could use beget in place of become. Your character begets your destiny. Yes. So, what do we have up here that you've been seeing and that you've been writing down? I know you've been writing it down, because if you haven't, what's going on? This is something that's not in any of the books. Very, very important. So, it is a special 23 sequence not in the books. And this is here for several different reasons. I don't want to go through all of this. I want to do more explaining. So step one is really, really critical. You're holding the right to the left 26. It's the left sequence. And what do you do for the left sequence? You sit on the left side. So understanding that, now you know how to do a right sequence of this. If you know about TKM, you automatically know how to do the right sequence. So right to left 26 and left to left 3. But there's a lot to that left to left 3. A lot of steps involved. It's not just 6 steps. What's important is that then after you get the 3 in good, you do a plumb line all the way down to the 23. So you were at the 3. So here's a 3. So by the way, these squiggly lines are supposed to be the body. So I hope your imagination is good. So here's the spine, shoulders, shoulder blade, some ribs. There's that little short floating rib. Short ribs. Oh, it is time for food. Okay, back to it. So we have the sacral, and here is your iliac crest. So the 3 is here. What you're doing is you get this one in good, and then you do a plumb line. That means a solid line of contact. Put your fingers together so that you're not doing one finger at a time all the way down through. Put your fingers together and replace it where one finger was, put it where the last one was. And you cover a solid line all the way down through there. Now, what is this really, really special and good for? Aside from What direction does energy flow? It flows up. Let me just go ahead and touch on this. Step 2, and I'll come back. Step 2 is to the tip of the coccyx. That's the bridge. Okay, so we want to get that bridge from 6th stratum to 3rd stratum to be complete so that we have circulation up, because that's what happens. Circulation goes up the spine, ascending energy. Then we're going to the left little finger. That is a correlation. If you just look at the digit in one way, that is related to 5th stratum. And it deals with the efforts. In another way, like the many things we've talked about, when you split out, because the index finger is 4th stratum, kidney and bladder. But when you do things like the 13 sequence and other things I've given, like up in Alaska when we were there, and there was this lady that was in the front that was having problems, and we were going through the class, and instead of stopping everything, I just said, hold these 2 fingers, little finger and index finger. What is that? Not only does it have an aspect of helping the circulation ascending and descending on the arm and the body, and 4th stratum and 5th stratum, but it splits out a correlation of a bladder relation to a kidney relation of little finger. Yes, I said it. Kidney relation of little finger. Why are you saying kidney relation? 23, that's 4th stratum, kidney and bladder. So we're bringing that in, and then we're going to the 16. What is this about? 16 is in 3rd stratum. Yes, so we're helping 3rd stratum, but what pathway goes through the 16? Is it bladder? No, it's kidney. So we're having another kidney aspect involved. So here's a kidney aspect for the little finger, and here's another kidney aspect by pathway with the 16. And then we're going to the 21. Well, we know that that's bringing in stomach, and then we go to the 12. I'm just going to pass that because I want to get back to this part. The 12 is where it splits off and deals with 2 things that greatly govern the back and the spine. Pathways and function energy. What is that? Kidney and bladder. Bladder is the pathway, more of that. It's the longest pathway of any pathway in the body, and it's in the back and up the spine. So it's connected in with the 12. You're using that and going down through all the way to the 23, because this is a 23 sequence. You're starting here and energy needs to go up. So instead of doing kind of a ABO, above, below, and on, what you're doing is you're very seriously clearing this whole area all the way down through. So I've got so much orange on there, let me change to another color. So the primary thing is to what? Get ascending energy to function. We're bringing in these other aspects, but the purpose is to get the 23 to function correctly. There has been people recently that had a huge muscle spasm here. You know who I'm talking about. This is out in El Paso. So this is a vital sequence for that. What else is this a specialty for? You'll find in the notes, if you took a 5 and 6 class, that this is a specialty great for leukemia. What's leukemia about? Leukemia is about the 9s. That's in between here. You're not touching the 9s as far as mentioning an energy sphere to go through, but you're directly and very powerfully including it with this. I'm just going to keep going down through here. We're going in this direction like this because it's clearing out, clearing out, clearing out, so that when you finally get to this, it has no obstacles and can freely flow up through. Got it? That's important. We touch the 12 because we want to clear up here in the neck. The only thing that's not contacted before it goes over is 4s and 11s. If you find that there's a problem with 4s and 11s, then you want to address those to make this most effective. But this is extraordinarily powerful. Very, very important. Leukemia is caused by desire thinking. Another reason that we're talking about this is because this is the appropriate color, is because what most people are dealing with right now and chronically in their life anyway, under any times and circumstances, is fear. If you're angry all the time, if you investigate, the bottom line is fear. If you're sad all the time, bottom line, the basis of that is fear. All of this effort trying to performance-oriented, fifth stratum, the base of that is fear. Fear is what we need to address to get rid of all these problems and build our immune system to be fabulous. And you can take COVID-19 or the flu or the virus or anything else, and I would say sneeze at it, but you wouldn't be able to sneeze because sneezes are related to kidney, and you've already taken care of that, so that it would all just flee from you. Got it? Awesome. I do have another tip. Cold or especially hot feet, correlated to the same function energy, means kidneys. Now we know that anything below the 15s or anything in the legs, the 15s need to be functioning right. But I'm talking about in particular what is causing this problem. 15s need to be open. That's a no-brainer. How about smelly feet? That's kidney. Kidney needs help. A quick step for hot or cold feet or smelly feet is center 6. That's very center of the sole of the foot. Not the 6, not the deep 6, not the forward 6, center sole of the foot. So here's how we're going to say it, because hand does matter on this. Center sole of foot on left foot with right hand. Left center 6 with right hand. And left hand on same foot little toe, which is all left foot. So again, to help the left foot, you use your right hand to go to the center 6 and your left hand to go to the little toe. That way we're also dealing, if you understand, bladder. Let's just draw a foot quickly up here. And this is big toe and goes across little toes. Bladder is coming across and going into the inside base of the little toe, while kidney is coming up and meeting at the inside base of that little toe. And it's another way to help all of this. So I had fun. I was going to talk about something else, but we're out of time. So we're only doing these on Fridays now. So I'll look forward to seeing you next Friday. Tell the other people if they have interest that they can join us as well. And I hope to see you on the level 7 and 8 class. We'll talk to you soon. God bless. Bye-bye.